Hi, I'm Tanya Lamb, and talk about getting the graveyard shift. This really takes the cake, I think. Supply chain management as a business imperative. Wow, now you really want that beer. You head off to the local bottle store for your favorite six-pack of Castle, and you are faced with that. There is nothing. How is that even possible? I'll tell you how. Something went wrong with the supply chain management. So basically, you're all asking, what is supply chain management? It's a multitude of complex processes and activities that run along an entire business across business units and all the functions within an organization. Supply chain management facilitates world-class service, customer satisfaction, the optimization of processes, management of costs, and delivers shareholder value. It's complex and it's deep, but I want to look at it with you from four basic elements: plan, source, make, deliver. Those are the four key components that we're going to look at this evening. Let's look at planning. So this is not going to be a best guess, and a crystal ball isn't going to get you many results. So we look at two types of strategies here. We look at a pull strategy and we look at a push strategy. The pull strategy requires that firm customer orders are released into the supply chain, as well as need to replenish stock. Push strategies look at demand forecast. So that looks at historical data. Here we look at things like seasonality. So we know that in December, everybody's on holiday, everybody's kicking back and having a braai, and they're drinking beer, so demand has to be increased because they've also got money to spend, they've got bonuses. We look at economic downturn. We look at where customers have had to cut back on spending. So the first thing that goes is the luxuries. Beer is a luxury. That affects your forecast. We look at demand creation. We look at marketing campaigns. What's been done to promote your brand and create that awareness? That's going to have an impact on what your need is for your product. Once we know how much of what we need to source the product. We need to source the raw material to make the end product. So this is easy, right? I mean, there's not much that goes into beer. Some barley, some hops, some water. Those are easy to find, but we've just had a drought, and the areas that you would get your crops from have failed. So what's your next best plan? You need to source it somewhere else. You may need to get your crops from outside of the country. That's going to have an impact for sure on cost. You may be compromised on quality because the crops that you're getting are not the same as what you're used to. Quality affects your brand. You may not meet your production deadlines. Their lead time may be longer than what you've got available to get into production. All these things have an impact on sourcing your materials. Not only that, but if you buy the wrong amount, too much is a waste of money. Wasted product. Too little, you can't meet your production. You're not going to get your end product. So once we've got what we need to make our product, we're going to make it. In this case, we're going to brew beer. So the manufacturing or the brewing process is quite a complex, scientifically involved process. It requires lots of planning, lots of detail. Has to be done properly. But there are things that can go wrong here too. So if we look at the water shortages that we've even had in Joburg up until not so long ago, we were imposed with water restrictions. Do you have any idea how much water it's required to make beer? A lot. SA breweries were granted concession, thank goodness, or none of you would be having a Castle anytime soon. Electricity. Power outages. You have a power outage on a brewery, it takes down everything. The whole manufacturing or brewing process requires power and electricity. You have a problem. Machinery maintenance. This is really key. This is critical. You've got to keep all the machinery up and running all the time without a glitch. So maintenance is imperative. But nothing's infallible. Machinery fails, right? It goes down. So does your production line. This affects your ability to get your product to market, to get that beer on the shelf. So once we've got all our beer made and ready to go, we need to deliver it. Not only do we need to deliver this beer to retailers and wholesalers in built up, easily accessible shopping centres or areas, we need to get it to shebeens in rural areas. That is no easy feat. Let's look at the type of things that would impact us in the delivery process. Road infrastructure, we have a very poor, for the most part, especially out in the rural areas, infrastructure. Things like the e-tolls. Just imagine the impact that that's had on the costing of transportation into the supply chain. Safety and security. Beer, that's a high-risk commodity, right? If you can get it for free, why buy it? So hijacking is a really big problem here. The delivery process requires a lot of transport modeling type of scenarios to happen. Within this process, they throw a whole lot of information into a system that looks at routes and mileage travels, and it looks at deliveries to customer depots. You can't just roll up at a customer's depot and expect to offload your products. They don't have any of that. You've got between 10 and 12. If you get there before that, take your truck and move. So there are all sorts of things that play into this. So supply chain management is complex, it's deep, it's broad. Supply chain management really sits at the heart of every business. It's a balancing act. It's a delicate balancing act. Every day, all the time. It requires constant communication up and down that supply chain, through functional areas, across the businesses. It also provides opportunity for competitive advantage. If you have an agile and responsive supply chain, your supply chain can counteract any challenges or disruptions that you have in the business. And that's what you need. You need to be able to deal with those issues as they come up. You need to be able to tackle them and nip them in the bud. That's what supply chain management is. That's what it's about. I want to leave you with this one thought. Supply chain managements are everywhere, from the biggest companies in the world to running a simple household. You don't even know it, but you are all practicing supply chain professionals. Next time you go and you pick up your bottle of beer, because SA Breweries, the beer is always available, let's be honest, Castle's always on the shelf, give them credit for that, or you stop to draw cash from an ATM. You stop at the pharmacy to pick up some medication. Just stop to give a thought to how it got there. What did it take to get it there to you, so that it was available when you needed it on the shelf? A really good, hot, seamless supply chain. That's what. Thank you.